I am taking the opportunity to make a video to explain to you a little bit about the assessment week and what's going to be expected since we didn't see each other in class uh, for the last class of this week. So this actually goes for Miss Brennan's class as well as my class. So all of you will get something out of watching this video. So what we would like to do for the assessment week is to have you all spend 2 hours demonstrating your developed skills in making an evidence-based explanation or an evidence-based argument. We have been practicing this time and time again through analysis questions, whether it be the very first analysis questions we did on the biomes, where you were asked to make a choice about what biome is the most extreme and defend that choice. And there wasn't really a right answer, but you had to look back, and many of you at that point were not using quantitative data to the best of your ability. So you said, I think the tundra is the most extreme biome because it's really cold and it's really dry. A better answer for that question would be, I think it's the tundra because the average temperature in the tundra over the winter months is 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is very little precipitation. In fact, the tundra gets approximately the same amount of precipitation as a desert. Total rainfall or precipitation in a year is 300 millimeters. That is a better use of quantitative data. There's also qualitative data, which is more descriptive data, and we are continuing to ask you to use qualitative data as well. That would be using quotations from a source to back up a claim you're making. That would be using descriptive information such as size, shape, color, and also might include anything that speaks to sustainability, since that's a common theme in this course, as we all know. So getting to our evidence-based argument or our evidence-based explanation assessment this week, we're going to give you 2 hours to make an evidence-based argument, and you are going to essentially the general topic is international aid and healthcare. And we really started looking at this with the assignment that was due the day we got back from Thanksgiving break, where you went through the Prescription for Survival web case study, and you read about 7 or 8 arguments for international aid as a reason, international aid for healthcare. And then you guys had the opportunity to read, right after that, some reasons why countries may not feel compelled to support other countries in eradicating disease or in fighting a particular healthcare issue. And so there are 2 sides to the argument. So we started hearing about that then. In class, we expanded this argument, or we expanded this exploration of this topic when we started looking at some of the healthcare statistics, how many physicians in each country. We started looking at what you all personally think impacts an individual's health, whether that be environmental factors, whether that be genetics, personal choices, or socioeconomic status. We continued exploring this topic after we learned about malaria, and we learned about the fact that malaria pretty much impacts sub-Saharan Africa and tropical regions, but of the people it impacts and causes death, about 80% of the people that die from malaria are under the age of 5, which is obviously a social sustainability issue, seeing as how children are being unfairly, not unfairly, but disproportionately targeted by this disease. So we had that. And then you read some articles on poverty and disease, and you were only asked to read 2 articles, but my strong suggestion, since this was a discussion post, was that you go back and read the comments that your classmates were making, because this is something that may start to have themes running through it, whether you read Ebola versus tuberculosis or you read malaria versus Zika. You might want to go back and see if there are some common themes relating to poverty and disease that emerged from those articles, and reading your classmates' arguments. And if you have the inclination, which I don't think would be a bad idea, you can go back and read some of the other articles. They're all pretty short. So what is it going to look like when you come to the assessment? So you know the general topic is international aid and healthcare. When you come to your assessment period, you are going to arrive, whether that be Tuesday or Thursday, different classes. You're going to arrive and you are going to get a disease, a very particular disease, one that is not known to you at this point. And so you're going to have approximately 1 hour to do research on this disease, utilizing a wide variety of web sources, which you will need to cite. You will not need to do APA citations, but you will need to keep a running list of the websites that you're using for your research and for your information gathering. And you will combine this with the piece of paper that you will bring in. And so if you have done your due diligence, you have read the assignment entitled Assessment Week December 2016. And in that assignment, it very clearly describes to you guys that you will need to read through all of the arguments, maybe even gather some sources that we have not read together as a class, for and against international aid for healthcare. And you will want to have statistics. You will want to have specific quotations. You will want to have pros and cons for all of this. You may want to jot down some of your own personal thoughts about this topic. And so it's going to be a well fleshed out resource for you. There are some guidelines about what it looks like. It is one side of one piece of paper. It is 12-point font, Times New Roman, single spaced. So there's very specific rules and guidelines about how much information you can bring in with you. So really asking you to parse down what's the most important stuff to bring in. Then when you get your actual topic, so let's say the topic were a disease called Nipah virus, which we've not yet studied, but may be a good topic for this. You will then do some research on Nipah virus, and then you will be asked to make an argument. So you'll spend that hour sort of looking at what is this disease? What are the death rates from this disease? What countries this is affecting? How many people is this affecting? Is this a real health scare, a real health crisis? Do we want this spilling over international borders? Because obviously with globalism and globalization, I should say, people travel very frequently. And so all of those things wrapped up together, you're going to say, yes. I strongly believe that nations around the world that are not directly impacted by Nipah virus should provide financial support to the countries that are impacted by Nipah virus so that they can eradicate this disease before it spreads. And here are the reasons why. And in any good evidence-based argument, you will have a minimum of 3 really well fleshed out pieces of evidence. And since you're writing an essay, each of those 3 pieces of evidence should be explained in a paragraph form. And in that paragraph, you may even use other evidence to further back up your argument. So statistical evidence, again, I'm going to say this one more time. It could be quantitative, could be qualitative data, could be quotations, could be anything that you find from the UN websites, from the World Health Organization, anything. So you're going to make your well-formed argument for or against international aid. If you think no, you are more than welcome to say no. It may not be justified. It may be too much money, and it may be not enough of a health risk. And then when all is said and done, you'll have about an hour to compose your argument. For those of you who prefer to write by hand, you can write by hand. But we're going to strongly encourage all of you to bring in, well, you'll have to have your computers obviously charged and ready to go to do the research, but we're also going to encourage you to use your computers to actually type out your response. What we are mostly looking for is an accurate, direct use of compelling evidence that supports your argument. Many of you still don't flush out your arguments thoroughly enough. And so that is why we are continuing to assess this skill. This is a skill that will serve you well beyond any science course you will take. It's a great skill to have. So with that being said, you will come to take your assessment this week. You will need a computer. You will need a charged computer. And you will need to bring one piece of paper that is printed that you will also turn in at the end of the time that you have. Your teacher, whether it be me or Miss Brennan, can answer any questions that you may have pertaining to this topic or pertaining to the assessment. And feel free to reach out over the course of the next couple of days if you have any clarifying questions or concerns. Hope this was helpful, and we will see you this week for your assessment.